Warning: Geeking Toyetic is a show aimed at the adult collector, and as such features adult language and humor that is not appropriate for younger audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome everybody to a special edition of Geeking Toyetic. I'm your host Larry Roberts, and as you may or may not know, Geeking Toyetic is a special segment that I like to do on the Geeking Poetic podcast channel. Now normally on this show I focus more on actual toys, action figures, play sets, even dolls, things like that, but as you can see I've got a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff set up around me because I was right in the middle of doing all sorts of new Star Wars features when I was excited to find out that at my doorstep, in my mailbox, I received a new package from PLAIDStallions.com. Now for those that don't know, PLAIDStallions.com is a really awesome website that is dedicated to kitschy things from our past, from the 60s, 70s, and 80s mostly, focusing on things like really bad old-fashioned and cool forgotten toy lines. They put up a lot of things from old catalogs and stuff that's just a lot of fun to look at and laugh at, and for many of us it just brings us back down memory lane because we grew up with this stuff and it's still embedded somewhere there in our brains. Now I've been a big fan of Plaid Stallions for years now, not least of which because it is helmed by none other than Brian Heiler. Now in addition to Brian being a really awesome guy and being super knowledgeable about all things vintage toys, he also has made quite a reputation for himself working in the print medium in the past. I'm a big fan of the book that he put out a while back all about rack toys called Rack Toys Cheap Crazed Playthings. Now over the last 20 years or so, Brian has contributed numerous times to all sorts of publications like Lee's Action Figure Review, Toy Shop, Toy Fair, Famous Monsters of Filmland. He even was part of Topless Robot from the Village Voice. And while we all know that the internet is a great place to find information on our hobbies and all this stuff like this, it's not the same thing as the good old days when we would go out and find magazines or books about this stuff and put it on our shelf and be able to easily grab it and look up pictures or just information we need to help us with our crazy toy collecting habits. Well, Brian Heiler decided it was about time to do something about that, so he is introducing Toy Ventures, an old school print magazine about vintage toys from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s that's going to cover items and topics that don't normally get the kind of respect and attention that they deserve. Now each new issue of Toy Ventures is going to feature collector guides, articles, and interviews with toy experts, as well as lots of really cool photographs, most of them rare and ones that haven't been seen in years or maybe you've never seen. Now issue number 1 of Toy Ventures is going to focus mainly on the Azrak Hamway International Company from the 1970s. Now Azrak Hamway, otherwise known as AHI for short, was a company in the 1970s that competed pretty directly with MEGO, putting out a lot of the similar kind of products like cloth-clothed dolls and parachuting superheroes and vehicles and different kinds of utility sets and things like that. And it wasn't held in the same kind of esteem as MEGO is, but there are a lot of us that love the Azrak Hamway stuff because it was cheap and affordable back when we were kids, and they made some really cool stuff, but it's gotten really hard to locate a lot of these items now as adult collectors, and getting information about a lot of this stuff is even more difficult. So needless to say, I am super excited to check out this magazine, which I have right here. I have not even opened it yet, so I'm going to open it on camera so we can check it out for the first time together. So here we go. Okay. All right, nice. So the magazine came to me wrapped in some plastic with a backing board to keep it nice and flat. That is awesome because, of course, I'm a collector, so I care about condition and don't want things bent and wrinkled and all that silly stuff. But hey, know your audience, right? And I can see that there's some additional items packaged in here with me. Now, that is because I took part in the Indiegogo campaign that he did a few months back, trying to get support for making this magazine. And not only did he get support, he got a lot of it. A lot of collectors stepped up and took part in the campaign, which made me really happy. He did very well to be able to cover a lot of his costs on this, because I mean, this is basically a labor of love for Brian. This is definitely not a get-rich scheme or anything for him, making something like this. He just loves this kind of stuff and wanted to see it get out there into people's hands. So thank you to everybody else that took part in his campaign and made this happen. Okay, so taking it out of the plastic, said, oh, that's cool. Got some little tidbits in here, a couple of really cool little buttons. Oh, nice Wolfman button and Frankenstein, same Frankenstein that you see on the cover of the magazine. I will show them here on the screen for you. And a cool little Toy Adventure sticker. That's really nice. I'm gonna find something to stick that on, I'm sure. The magazine itself is printed really nicely. The colors pop. I like the way they did all the different font on here. It looks great. On the back, advertisement for AHI and Toy Ventures. I mean, it's so classic. It looks like something we would have seen in an old comic book back in the day. The quality of the magazine is amazing. Oh, there's all these great photos of vintage Star Trek stuff. Man, that's speaking to me immediately, because so many of us loved having these things. In fact, I still have one of these. I still have the disc shooting, here it is, the disc shooting phaser gun and these parachuting. I don't know why Kirk and Spock would have parachutes, but that's the beauty of 1970s rack toys. They didn't have to make sense, they just had to be fun and cheap. They cover things like the world's famous monsters. There's just loads of great pictorials in here of these toys. I mean, you really can't find this comprehensive of a source for this kind of stuff other than here. I mean, Brian is really into this stuff, and he knows what he likes and he knows what the rest of us are looking for, and so you can tell he designed it in a way that it's just going to make our collector heads explode. Plus, you'll see when you look through here, there's all sorts of cool little tidbits that are speaking with people who worked for the companies back then that had insights on this stuff, and you just can't really find that anywhere. He's even got like little bits in here talking all about missing figures, meaning things that were advertised in the retailer catalogs, but to our knowledge never made it onto toy shelves, or if they did, we don't have any proof of their existence at this point, or maybe sometimes things got released overseas, but they're just high quality photographs in here. It looks great. Last but not least, because I don't want to show you everything that's in here, I want you to check this out for yourselves, but talk about speaking to me. They've got an article about forgotten Kiss toys. I mean, come on, man. Just from first glance, because this is the first time I'm looking at it, obviously, I am super pleased with this. This is a really cool magazine. I feel like this is an important part of being a vintage toy collector. I mean, not just having the toys, but all this kind of material. For so many of us, when we started collecting these toys, either back in the 80s or for a lot of people like myself in the early 90s, a big part of what drew us into this were those publications like Tomart's, Lee's, Toy Shop, of course. And all the pictures and the information that was in there, it was like discovering a whole new world, because so much of it was like a wilderness at the time. We didn't know what all was out there and what to expect when we'd go looking for these things. And it was a big part of why I loved collecting. I bought those magazines every month for years. So thank you so much, Brian, for doing this. I really look forward to future issues of this, and for people that are interested, make sure you go and check it out online. I'll put all the information you need on the screen, as well as links down in the description below. But definitely check out PLAIDSTALLIONS.com You'll find out more information about Toy Ventures there, as well as just all sorts of other really cool vintage goofy stuff that we love to laugh at or reminisce about. When you go to the links there, you can also find a link to subscribe so you can get on the mailing list and find out when new issues are coming out or any new information that Brian has about the project. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Toy Ventures is a featured part of Brian's YouTube channel that is under the name Brick Mantooth, where he does videos talking about a lot of the stuff featured in the magazine, as well as other stuff I'm sure that'll be coming up. It's a great YouTube channel. I'm addicted to it. I watch it as soon as everything comes out that he puts out. And in addition to all the stuff you'd find out like that, he also hosts his PLAID Stallions podcast on there that he and Jason Lenzi from Biff Bang Pow both co-host, and that's been one of my favorite shows for a while now. And actually, Jason and Brian doing all their podcast stuff and their videos was one of the main reasons that I started doing this on YouTube in the first place. So I highly recommend you check that out. Definitely check out the Brick Mantooth channel on YouTube. So that's really all I got to say about it. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you're going to be willing to check it out. And if you do, please let me know what you think about it and let them know. I know Brian wants the input, and yeah, I'll see you around. Maybe I'll talk about issue number 2 when it comes out. So anyway, Geeking Toyetic, checking out. See y'all soon.